Modesty. To women, this is probably the most triggering topic you could bring up. People have lots of different ideas about what is modest and what isn't, and in this video, I'm going to be reacting to this video over here by Brian Holtzworth about modesty and giving my thoughts and seeing if, from a woman's perspective, I actually agreed. So let's go ahead and get started.
I'm just going to say it at the outset of this video. It's wrong to wear revealing clothing. And I think that there's a very simple proof that I'm going to offer in this video that demonstrates that even the people who do and say otherwise, they know this is true. They know that this is the case. But before I make that argument, I think it's pretty easy to admit that this is a controversial topic that it's hard to assess reasonably. Our emotions and our own personal interests get in the way.
That's really true, because it's like, especially women, you get really offended if someone were to say that something you're wearing is immodest, because it implies that like you're being sinful on purpose, you know? I came across this document the other day. It's very cool. A papal decree concerning modesty. His Holiness Pope Pius the 11th, January 12th, 1930. And it has all these objectives for, it's called the Mary-like standards for modesty in dress. And they're very interesting. After reading this, I actually changed a lot of what I've been wearing, and I'm still not there yet with all of these. It's just very interesting, and it is very emotional.
Is that we treat all of these kinds of questions as merely subjective, as in what we mean by right and wrong is merely personal feelings or opinions. But if we treat all ethical questions as merely subjective, as in my opinion and my feelings against yours, then there's no way to find any resolution. The other day I was at a department store, just checking out with my goods, and there were 3 women standing individually in front of me. They weren't part of a group, they were just successively in line in front of me. And every single one of them was wearing leggings, the kind that left basically nothing to the imagination. Yeah,
leggings or something. There was this thing, I can't remember what it was. It was like maybe some comedian or whatever. They said leggings ain't pants, which I'm from the South, so like ain't anything with ain't. I'm like, oh, love it. So leggings ain't pants. You know, you don't wear them as if that they're just pants. You know, you have to. I was always taught that if you're gonna wear leggings, you have to wear something that covers your backside and on like the front of you and the back of you, because like obviously it's kind of like tights. If you're a woman and you wear tights, you wouldn't walk around in tights, and like that's essentially what leggings are. They're just opaque and sometimes not opaque tights. Like why would you walk around wearing that? But it's hard, especially when you go to the gym, guys. The gym is such a place for like where people just think that it's the gym, so anything goes. And I'm like, no, you're a mixed company, and even in non-mixed company, even with all females, I still don't want to see that, you know?
And not long sweaters to compensate or anything like that. It was just buttocks in all their splendor for the consumption of anyone and everyone. And that isn't an isolated anecdote in my experience. Just this morning, I went on my morning run and crossed paths with several people out and about. Every male that I passed was wearing something loose and comfortable, similar to what I was wearing. Every female was wearing very revealing leggings. Now you might say, well, they were exercising. You can't blame them, and that's true, they were. But so was I. And based on the looks of most of them, I was working a little bit harder than they were. But I wasn't wearing leggings and a cropped shirt. I was wearing... Okay.
Rude. I will say though, people think that modesty is only a women thing, and it's not. It's a men thing too. Like, there are certain things where men shouldn't be shirtless. Yeah, when you're swimming, you can be shirtless, but like, there are times when men taking off their shirts is not appropriate. There are times where like certain shorts for men should be a certain length. So I feel like there are objective standards for men and women, and that's not. I know he's not saying that, but it's just kind of interesting. But sometimes people just assume that modesty just relates to women, but it relates to men as well. So I'll just keep watching.
And a comfortable t-shirt. So here's the crux of the matter for me. Here's how we know that they also know that this is an excessively revealing way to dress. If I decided to stare at the said buttocks in a way that was obvious to them, I'm willing to bet the women standing in front of me would protest. Now, take it even a step further. Imagine if I made a comment while staring, like, that's some prime posterior real estate you have there. And then I asked her...
But that's so interesting, and it's so true, because it's like, you know, you think like when women dress a certain way and then people are staring at them, they get really offended. They're like, why are you looking at me? And it's like, stop objectifying me. And it's almost like But you objectified yourself when you put that on, you know? We're responsible for each other. You know, our goal is to get everybody to heaven and to keep hold our brothers accountable. You know, like, we are our brother's keeper in a way. And so if we can prevent someone from lusting after us or falling into sin or whatever by just how we dress, then we should do that. And like, yes, you know, some people can still, you know, look at you in a certain way even though you're completely covered. And that's on them, you know. But if you're tempting someone by what you're wearing, then, you know, if it's immodest, then you should probably not wear that. You know, same thing if someone were to walk around a store naked and someone were to look at them, he's like, what are you doing? How dare you look at me? It's like, what did you think would happen when you walk around naked?
I can guarantee that most women in that situation would not respond well. Most women would treat that as a form of harassment from a stranger. And frankly, they'd be right. But now imagine if instead I was looking at a woman's hair and I complimented her on that and maybe asked her where she got her hair cut. But in general, I can't see them getting excessively offended by that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
What's the difference? Why is there a massive distinction between looking at and even complimenting a woman's hair, or her nails, or maybe her sandals, and it not being offensive? But if you stare at and compliment her posterior when it's on full display, she's likely to take offense. And even if you think both are inappropriate, fine, but I think we can all admit that one is way worse than another. And the answer to that question, if it wasn't obvious to you, is because the anatomical parts that leggings and booty shorts reveal are private and shouldn't be commented on by strangers, because strangers, by definition, are not compatible with privacy.
Whoa, that is so interesting. Man, I never thought of it like that. Like, there's certain areas of you that are private, and like, you always say that, like, people don't get to see that part of you. Like, my mom would always say, like, you know, these things, you know, should be saved for your husband. Like, these are not for just some random stranger to look at. And I totally agree with that, but you don't think about the fact that it relates to privacy. Like, if you're a stranger, by definition, you're not admitted to the private parts of somebody. You know, you're not admitted to their home or things that are you know, private. If you're a stranger, you're in your public. If you're, you know, a close family member, you're admitted to be, like, in their private circle. So same thing with your body. If there are certain parts of you that are meant to be private, then strangers should not have access to that visually. That's so interesting. Cool, I never thought of it like that.
That's the only possible reason a woman could take offense if someone stared at or commented on her hindquarters. And if we could...
The analogies, the synonyms he uses for backsides is so funny. There's a posterior real estate and hindquarters. Like, it sounds like a horse. It's so interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's hilarious, though. It's like he's being modest in his speech. He's not being, like, provocative or lewd or whatever. I think it's hilarious.
Can agree on this, that private things are not for strangers, then that raises a massive question. If it's private, why is it on full display in public where all the strangers are? Intimacy is the exclusive occasion in which privacy can be shared. So it logically, rationally, and intellectually follows that we should keep intimate things private by concealing them, just as we do for everything else in our lives that are private. And frankly, recognizing this fact myself, that private things are for privacy, I don't want to look at the private parts of strangers either. When I'm standing in line in a narrow checkout aisle in which I have to look forward to know when to move up and when my turn is coming, there aren't a lot of places to look. So when all three people standing in front of me are relying on a thin, form-fitting, stretchy fabric to provide for their privacy, my own freedom to not have to stare at the ground is being confiscated from me.
Yeah, it's almost like you're, like, let's just say that there's someone who's an alcoholic, and someone puts a glass of, like, a beer in front of them, like, right in front of them. Like, who is more responsible? The person for drinking that beer who has a natural inclination to do it and even has an addiction to the point where it's not reasonable, or this person that put the beer in front of them in the first place. Like, it's like, obviously the person that put the beer in front of them is more culpable because they're aware of the person's weaknesses in that area, and they're still provoking them to the point where it's right in front of them. You know, and that's kind of how I feel about clothing. It's like, you know, yes, you're not necessarily responsible for what people look at, but, like, you're putting it right in front of their face. Like, you can be upset if they actually do it, in the same way that you couldn't be upset that the alcoholic drank the beer when you put it right in front of them, you know?
My kids play soccer. The two female coaches were wearing basically booty shorts. One of them was basically underwear.
Oh.
I don't know how else to describe it. It was a full revelation of anything you'd want to know about her anatomy.
Oh, that's a horrible way of putting it. It's a good way of putting it, but it's terrible. Yeah, I feel like I don't know what it is about exercise that just gives people liberty to just dress how they like, and just dress totally immodestly. Like, it's just kind of crazy. It's like, you can sweat in anything, like we have sweatpants. They're little cold sweatpants. Like, wear those, It's very interesting.
The two male coaches on the other side were wearing loose-fitting shorts and t-shirts, but my kids were playing on the side with the booty shorts. And where we as parents normally sit meant that coaches would walk right in front of your eye line periodically. So if I didn't want someone's privacy imposed on me, I had to move to an awkward spot where it was harder to see what was going on and to cheer my kids on. Again, we talk about freedoms like freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and freedom of mobility as intrinsic rights. But what about the freedom to be able to open your eyes and not have someone else's attempt at forcing their own privacy upon your field of vision? Because that's what it is.
I feel like it's almost in the same realm, almost as pornography, like for children, like it's just out in public on magazines and whatever. It's like that's, like, yes, your kid could not look at it, but like kids are curious. Like, they're naturally going to look at things like that, especially if they haven't seen it before. They're like, what is that? They're intrigued. I feel like it's in the same vein as that. Like, while no one would argue for someone's right to have pornography in public, especially where children's going to be, then in the same vein, we should not argue for the right of someone to wear clothing that makes people struggle to not look at them.
It's to insist that the whole world be arranged in such a way that suits you at the expense of everyone else. To be able to do what you want, but also have everyone around you respond in the exact way you want them to.
That's really true. Yeah, it's almost like saying, like, I can do whatever I want and people should be able to act however I want them to act. Like, it's ridiculous if you think about it.
Now, I know some people will complain and say, why are you only talking about women's clothing? And the answer is because this is usually not a problem for men.
I will agree.
Again, the male soccer coaches were not wearing booty shorts. All the men I encountered on my run, including myself this morning, were wearing reasonably modest and comfortable clothing.
You know the little flex he did, like, this morning? I wonder if he's proud of himself that he runs. No, I love Brian. I think he's amazing. I just think it's very funny how he's like, I worked harder. I look like I was working harder than all of them, and I also ran this morning. Like, I think he's proud that he runs. I think it's funny.
Outside of a theatrical setting, I don't think I've ever seen a man wearing leggings in public, so that his private parts were on full display. But I could go for a walk or a drive right now, and I guarantee that I would see some female body parts if I wanted to. This is a problem that is particular to
And I also think that it is particular to women, but I also think, like, there's a reason. Like, I think that the devil hates women. Like, he hates men too, of course he does. But it's like, if you ever see, like, you ever hear any stories of saints that have had revelations or whatever, it's like the devil hates Mary. And it's like he attacks women to, like, tear down their dignity and make them, act in a certain way that's against their inherent dignity. He'll tell them that they're being depressed or being oppressed because of they're not allowed to be priests and that kind of stuff, which stay tuned for a video about women and the priesthood and all of that. I have that coming up soon. But it's crazy how it's like, you will notice that there are these certain unique attacks on women in society, and you kind of wonder, like, Usually, I feel like if there's something against women, it feels very much like Satan is at work. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Men have their own vices, don't get me wrong. Vices that are particular to them, but this is one for women to take some more responsibility on.
I'll agree.
And the alternative is so much better. My wife and daughters take a lot of pride in wearing nice traditional dresses, and they get compliments all the time from men and from women. It's amazing how much of an occasion for building a sense of camaraderie and community with people that those occasions create.
Yeah, I really agree, and I feel like I feel like I've always dressed pretty modestly, but up until a couple months ago, I wore shorts to the gym, and I didn't consider them very short, but I think after I read the Mary people document the proclamation about modesty, it made me rethink it, and so I've been wearing pants to the gym from now on, and it kind of shocked me how much freedom I have in that like I don't have to worry about like, oh, if I'm doing this certain exercise, am I like, can people be able to see up my shorts? Like, I have to constantly be adjusting them to make sure that they're covering enough. Like, if I wear pants, I can essentially do whatever exercise I want, and I don't have to be afraid that someone is seeing the, intimate parts of me. So I feel like there is the freedom that people don't really talk about, and when you dress modestly, you're more relaxed. You can be yourself. You don't have to worry about like, oh, is this showing? Is that showing? Like, am I, whatever. Like, it's just, you have so much freedom. And it allows you to be yourself and to interact with people in a more genuine way. Like, if you tend to dress a little more revealing, I would encourage you to try to dress more modestly and see how it changes how you feel. Like, just try it for a week and just see how you feel. Especially going to the gym. If you're a woman, you go to the gym and you wear, let's say you wear like bra tops, or you wear like leggings or short shorts or whatever, I would encourage you, try going in pants and a shirt, or even just a tank top is fine, or I guess. Just at least try pants and see how you feel. Like, you'll be shocked. It's amazing.
Charming old men will say the nicest things to my wife and daughters, things that I would never be offended by, and neither would they. Other women will approach them and ask them where they got their dresses. I guarantee nobody's going to say nice things like that about booty shorts, and if they did, it's probably because they're a creep. The fact is, modest clothing attracts the kind of people that you should want to be friends with, people of goodwill, and the kind of people that you can trust. Revealing clothing attracts people who simply want to consume your body and care very little for your soul.
I totally agree. Man, that was a good video. That was so deep, but also like makes so much sense. Like, I have a problem with people who like, they do like really, really deep videos and there's so much there, but like at the end of the video, you're like, they'll explain it to me like, I don't really remember there's so much there. This was so good. I loved it. It was fantastic. It's such a good argument for modesty and all of that, and I think that it's really good to discuss that, and I think it's such a touchy topic, and it shouldn't be touchy. But anyway, that was fantastic. I definitely recommend, if you haven't checked his channel out, definitely try it. He's a very, very deep, like, he thinks about things very deeply. He's an awesome Catholic, so yeah, definitely check his channel out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys!